Hello, everybody. It's Mike Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. And you know how you get those sirens that go off? That's one of those moments right now. So you know how I'm always way ahead of the program, what everybody's going to be putting out. That's why I know you guys like to follow me, because I'm way ahead of the curve. Now I've been watching this, materialize, kind of like what I did with the COVID lockdown coming. Now, it took me a little bit to see through the subterfuge and the lies of COVID, but I saw what was coming. So it took all of us a little bit to figure out this is a plandemic, not a real pandemic, right? So, but it didn't take too long, right? So I was way ahead of the curve and started putting out very early on. I basically knowingly risked my channel over, and it got taken down over and over again to get this information, to get information out to people to help save lives and keep people focused. All right, so we're in that again. We're in that moment again, right? So I believe there's going to be a global shutdown and lockdown coming on the level of COVID or worse, right? I think we're already seeing bank assets being frozen. That's already beginning, right? And I'm going to talk about each of these subjects in a little bit more detail. But this is one of those moments. But you're going to be way ahead of the ball game, guys. So you're going to be able to get out and prepare and get what you need before the shot hits the fan, right? And that's what I did before the last one. Gave everybody heads up and showed everybody, hydroxychloroquine, how to make your own. We just made a little hydroxychloroquine the other day where we took grapefruit peels and boiled them, and it's a free little boost for your immune system, right? So I think we all need that going forward. Who knows what they're dropping some of the skies and putting in our foods and so forth. I think they're really turning up the heat again, right? So President Trump was ahead of that ball game too. Operation Warp Speed, which basically he was not supposed to be president. Hillary Clinton was supposed to be president, and the world would be a catastrophe right now. Now, I believe that President Trump did the same thing with bombing the hell out of Iran, right? But as we know, they came in and sabotaged him. They sabotaged a lot of us that were releasing this information. They sabotaged, once Trump was out, they came in and really hammered down. But because he did Operation Warp Speed, he was able to, nullify a lot of the things that they were going to do. And if he hadn't been there, if he hadn't done that, that would have caused a much worse catastrophe because it would have slowly ground us up, right? So by him, pushing it, they made mistakes. And that's what you do in special forces. You push the enemy, you hijack them, you sabotage them, all the different ways that you can do to stop their progress and move forward. That's what we're doing in Iran. So I think Iran, if he hadn't done what he did, would have been much, much worse, much, much worse. So I believe they were quietly and methodically, and probably this is all part of a plan along with COVID, to come in and shut down the Straits of Hormuz and cause this worldwide glut and catastrophe that's happening. It's a tsunami that's coming, guys, and I'm telling you it's coming. Now, some of you are going to be at the shoreline saying, "I don't see it," and you're going to get destroyed. All right. So if you don't take action now, you're going to get hammered. Right. Now, of course, things could change. President Trump could end the Iran war, which they're doing everything they can right now. They're sabotaging the peace talks, and we're going to talk about that as well. Now, Juan O'Savin was on last night, and he talked about that. He said that the Pakistani that was doing, and they still haven't in the news. They still haven't talked about it. They're still talking. I watch all kinds of different and look at all kinds of different stuff. And I was going to do this show an hour ago. There's so much stuff coming out right now. Do you guys know that Tulsi Gabbard is gone? Right? She's gone. All right. So that's might be breaking news for a lot of you, but because it's not on the regular news yet, but she's gone. All right. So it's already a done deal. Same with Pam Bondi. So there's a lot of these people that are not going along with, what we need to do. Pete Hegseth, Department of War, basically fired the top general of the Army. So things are moving. Of course, they're going to try and sabotage that in the mainstream press. That's basically, Operation Mockingbird. But it's coming. It's a bigger war in the Middle East is coming because they're pushing it. They're pushing it. The ground operations, like I predicted, are moving in that direction. The stock market is going to get slammed next week. Oil is going to continue to go up, and that always causes further out. It causes a massive economic downturn, right? So this is all planned by them. But again, this would have happened if it would have been allowed to happen in their own timing. It would have been much, much worse, but it is going to be very catastrophic regardless. Now, Juan and myself, I've talked about in other shows. I was at an event. Another event's coming. This other event that's coming, guys, it may be too late. All right. They're trying to be ahead of something that's coming, but it may be too late because the tsunami is coming, right? You can broadcast and get everybody the warnings that they need to prepare to go to higher ground, for a tsunami, of course. But higher ground would be to start to get your money, right, secured already, being gold and silver, on and on and on. But, we could even see silver and gold go down even more before it takes off on a massive spike. That will be the greatest spike in the history of silver and gold, right? So those are all other conversations, but the real conversation that needs to happen right now is what's going on. First of all, Donald J. Trump said Vice President J.D. Vance is now in charge of fraud. Fraud is very, very close to destroying and collapsing our country, guys. And this is also a planned, destruction. And they've been stealing from us, and now we're at the point where it's tipped. And tsunami, the blast in the ocean has already happened. Everybody's aware of it. Well, not everybody. Some of you may be listening to about this the first time. You're like, what? So get ready. All right. So he goes, President Trump, and this is in Truth Social. He says it is massive and pervasive, and the job he will be doing in conjunction with many great people within the Trump administration will be a major factor in how great the future of our country will be. All right. So, of course, he's going to, say this in a very positive way, just like with, Operation, I will call it Operation Warp Speed. So it was an operation. It was a military operation to get that out as fast as possible. So we're in another operation, guys. Of course, it's happening in Iran, but it was also going to cause shocks throughout the system. Now, we know that we've already seen fraud being exposed, and that led to Iran, and now it's going to double down here in the States and around the world. So President Trump goes on, this is today. This was released early in the morning. You know how President Trump is hot on the keys, very early in the morning. So it was released, I think, at 05:05 today, the 3rd, Good Friday. So already got lots of views, lots of retruths. So he says, we will, so he says, JD Vance will play a major factor. He will be called the fraud czar, and his focus will be everywhere, but primarily in those blue states. I've been saying this for years. I said, we got to get, this is a problem. You know, I can tell people where the issues are and where the problems are. But if there's pushback, like we saw with COVID, the COVID lie, the preparation for COVID was not there. And those of us that tried to get that information out, you know, here's make your own hydroxychloroquine. You would have been able to survive the COVID, you know, craziness, right? With hydroxychloroquine, because a lot of people told me they did after listening to me. The video that I did on that I put on Facebook had well over 1 million views in a matter of 2 days. It went around the world, and then Facebook shut it down, took it away, and then gave me, they restricted me. So there were, if you'd taken, you know, just, you know, natural stuff, you would have been able to overcome COVID-19, but they locked us down. It was all a lie, all of it a lie. And then they vaccinated the hell out of the world, right? And that's broken down a lot of people's immune systems. And so a lot of people have had lots of problems from that. So, and are no longer with us. So we're in a war. They're in a war with us. And, you know, there's been, you know, casualties. Millions and millions of people all over the world have died already from their war against on us. We have to wake up. So if you look at, he says, if you look at the blue states where crooked Democrat politicians, now everywhere around the world where you have people that are very much like the liberals here in the United States, we call them Democrats, that are destroying, they're terrorists. Trump has called them terrorists. And I've said this for years, decades now. Not decades, but at least a decade. And I really got hot and heavy when the COVID lie came out. They're in place to, you know, push this agenda, guys. So they're infiltrators. You look in Australia, we're going to talk about Australia because it is happening in Australia. When they get away with whatever they get away with, and I talked about this during COVID. Now, when I was revealing about COVID, they stopped me from being broadcast in Australia because the Australians were all over what I was talking about. And they stopped my broadcast, YouTube broadcast, into Australia. And I said, that's odd. I remember thinking that was odd at the time. I was like, well, hopefully somebody's doing a workaround. They're getting this information. But we saw how hard they locked down Australia. And then I started to see a pattern. Whatever they get away with in Australia, they're going to push it into America. So they test it in Australia. It's a test ground because it's a captured operation in Australia, unfortunately. The people have been captured, right? And they don't have hardly any say. Of course, there's a lot of people that are pushing back on them, but it's not enough, right? So whatever they get away with in Australia, and they're already starting to get away with this in Australia, guys, they're going to push it to America and the rest of the world. And it's happening. It's already, so I can just look over the years. I'm just looking because I saw it happen to me. They restricted me from putting out information. Who knows? Maybe this video will be restricted in Australia, right? So, and if that's the case, I'll let you know because then that'll double down on what I'm talking about and as massive truth. All right. Now I feel that we have reached a level where we're able to release this information because I think a lot of these corrupt places, we know the X has been, of course, it's, you know, they still restrict us. Usually I get at least 100 more subscribers on X, and then I would put something out that's really revealing. It stops. All right. So we know there's still controls out there, but at least we're able to get the information out. Right. So crooked Democrat politicians like those in California, California is going to have massive oil shocks, just like what's already starting to happen in Australia. Australia at one time produced 70% of their fuel. And then the green idiots came in and took it all away. So they're relying on, which was the plan, they're relying on not the Middle East, I think the Far East, to give them their fuel. Now the Far East is starting to lock up their stuff. So Australia is already starting to suffer. California will suffer because they did the green you stupidness in California on a massive scale. They started shutting down refineries and driving them out, not necessarily coming in and saying, we're going to shut you down. It's just like raise the taxes, made it restrictive to the point where refiners are like, we're out. Now, Trump just recently, within the last couple of weeks, reopened the pipelines from the oil wells off the coast so that they could start to push in more oil. So that's a process that takes time. Of course, environmentalists or, having their hissy fit, they're part of this problem. They were inserted to be part of this problem. The environmentalists, right? Because it makes absolutely no sense. Now, the Environmental Protection Agency, fortunately, Trump put a really good person in there, and they're turning back a lot of the silliness and stupidity that comes from these pie in the sky believe, this like, oh, we can all have green energy and so forth. It was a lie. You should know this at this point. And the earth heating up to the point where that was a lie. All right, because we're seeing it. You still see snow on my balcony. There shouldn't be any snow, according to who was that? Who's the guy that who was vice president, ran for president, Al Gore, right? That inconvenient truth. It was an inconvenient lie, right? He was just at the World Economic Forum, I think 2 years ago, still pushing that lie, still pushing the lie. It's like, we don't believe that anymore. We know that's not true. So F off, So California, Illinois, Minnesota, Somalia, beware, in parentheses, Maine, New York, and many others have had a free-for-all in the unprecedented theft of taxpayer money. Now, I see people posting all the time on X that Ilhan Omar should be deported. Come on. She needs to be tried and thrown in prison. And then once she's done her time, and if we can't find the money that she's stolen, she should stay in prison for longer. All right. Don't send her back to Somalia. That's like, okay, we know you stole billions of dollars from us. Just go away. That's idiocy, guys. Stop supporting people that say, because I think it's on purpose, to deport her. All right. She needs to be tried. If you do a crime, and God, that's treasonous. Should be maybe she goes bye-bye. All right. So stop saying you think that I see it from top level people on X and everything. They have millions of subscribers, and they push that. And I come in and say, no, she should be tried first. All right. Prosecuted, stand her jail time or whatever happens. And then if she survives that, right, however long it is, then, take away her U.S. passport and deport her to Somaliland, right? And whatever. So many other states, all right, the Democrat states, all up and down the left coast, all right, Oregon, Washington, all problems, have had a free-for-all in the unprecedented theft of taxpayer money. The numbers are so large that if successful and turn around this fraud, we would literally be able to balance our American budget, which I think last I saw 37 trillion. All right. I was saying for a long time that it's $1 trillion in fraud in California. And I had somebody on the other day, and I'm going to have another guest on that's going to talk about, oh, no. It's 3 trillion. So, boy, that jumped up because no one was talking trillion. I was talking trillion early on, and now we're looking at 3 trillion. Holy moly. Yeah, so if we can turn around that and we're not going to turn that around. These people have stolen this money for the most part. So anyway, raids have already started in LA. Good luck, JD. Right. Now, this conference that we're going to have in the Ahearn in Las Vegas, Juan and I talked about it last night. I'm still waiting for the link so people can sign up for it. So it's the 15th to the 17th of June. I hope that we haven't been locked down by then, right, here in America. But I think we could be. So we're going to have to be very flexible, right? So one of Juan O'Savin's top guys, his head of his movement and stuff around and so forth, I'm not going to give his name, but he said, sir, because he's former Marine and, of course, Vice President Vance is former Marine. So he says, sir, would be honored for Vice President Vance to attend. Join remotely or record a message for us. Semper Fidelis. Right. So this is the Fraud Summit, Fraud Fighter Summit, uniting the front lines against fraud. So the Ahearn Hotel in Las Vegas, I've already lined up my room. All right. It's supposed to be 500 tickets. I think there are going to be 300 and something you talked about on the show last night. Meals going to be included. And the meals there at the Ahearn are outstanding. Right. So it's going to be very good. So 3 days. Wow. And I was just there. We just did a 1 day and the reveals were just stunning for me. And I'm going to have a lot of those people that were there on my show. One of them is Mitch Vexler. So he's coming on. He is basically, Juan asked him while he was, because he's in Texas, fighting fraud for people that are paying property taxes. All right, property taxes. I have people that have been, telling me there's places in Texas where property taxes are up over the last several years, 300%. 300%. How is that possible? That's bullshit, right? So in a lot of in another place like in Colorado over the last year is up 40%. Wow. Why? Because the fraud Ponzi scheme is accelerating to basically exploding, right? And you should not be paying property taxes. You should not be paying income taxes. And who knows, maybe there's going to be a Jubilee. And maybe that Jubilee, like Juan was talking about, could be coming during the prayer service. I think it's May 16th or something like that, where President Trump is doing a prayer service across America. Of course, you can pray wherever during that time frame, but it is coming. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Tulsi Gabbard. Now, this is several days ago. Actually, it says Friday, April 3rd. So Tulsi Gabbard on thin ice as Donald Trump poised for third firing within days. All right. So the word I'm getting, she's already been fired. Gabbard has allegedly attracted Trump's displeasure after failing to condemn former counterterrorism chief Joe Kent after he dramatically resigned from his position last month and criticized the administration's decision to take the U.S. to war with Iran, claiming that Trump is fighting Israel's war and that Iran did not pose an imminent threat to the U.S. Now, I'm going to basically call this guy an ass clown, right? From my military experience. Of course, he's a military guy, but he's an ass clown, right? And he's absolutely, there's no question in my mind, he's puppeted. He's been puppeted to do this, to sabotage, all right? So I don't know what happens to him in the future, but I think it's going to be quite severe. And then Tulsi Gabbard pretty much kind of went along with it. Remember, Tulsi Gabbard's former Democrat, right? But she got on the Trump train, and he pushed her to a very high level. And we pushed her to a very high level because we pushed Trump to a high level. And then Trump would ask, what do you think about this person? And I shut down at least one that I know, but everybody out, or maybe two. And it wasn't just me, everybody. A lot of people are like, no, absolutely not that person. No. And then Tulsi's like, everybody's like, yay, yay. So, we, the people, got a voice. Trump gave us a voice, and we chose Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi Gabbard has failed us, right? So she's gone, right? So let's see what George Webb has to say. George Webb, during COVID, he was one of those guys that was really on the cutting edge. They kept taking him down, of course, like all of us, but he was really, really on the cutting edge. Lots of respect for him, right? So let's look at what he had to say about this.
At Dulles Airport, this is a hell of a day in Washington. We've just had word that Tulsi Gabbard is out at ODNI. This is the server, we think, the server not telling Trump about the coup server, potentially also an assassination server for Charlie Kirk, potentially also an assassination server for him. So this is taking on huge significance, but Tulsi should have told Trump. And so she's out. We also have Miller's Crossing here. We have two Millers in this story that did the programming to tap the phones and all the electronic communications and social media of 5 senators, 12 totally targeted in this Arctic Circle 2024, I guess 2025 is the best way to say it. And 5 illegal wiretaps on U.S. senators with no FISA, no nothing. Of course, Josh Hawley is one of them. 2 of the Blackburn and the other senator from Tennessee is one of them. Tuberville from Alabama is another one. And then there's a 5th senator. So not telling the senators, using Charlie Kirk as leverage against these 5 senators to try to get them in an obstruction justice charge along with the president. So this is a huge story. It's not totally above the waterline yet, but people are now starting to see some of the detritus bobble up, like the ouster of Tulsi Gabbard here at ODNI. And remember, there's 2 arrests here at this, of course, was where another server that went missing, right, with Imran Awan, and Imran Awan got arrested here at Dulles Airport. One of the Millers of the Miller's Crossing, the dark fiber crossing, dark fiber, right, the dark fiber crossing where all the wiretaps are. One of the Millers is arrested right here at Dulles Airport as well. The story hasn't bubbled up yet, but it's going to be soon, either tomorrow or maybe next week.
So lots of stuff, guys. Like I said, I was going to do this show over an hour ago, and it was just like boom, 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 more stuff coming. I gotta talk about this, gotta talk about that. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to get out and just talk about this, and more comes up. And if I get time, I'll get out and put some more information out. So, normally I do these shows in the evening, just let the information bubble up like George Webb was talking about. And then I put it out there, and some of it, I just let it sit for a little bit and then let it stew and see how it's going to taste for everybody. And maybe I'll get some more salt on it. And then I'll serve it up. So last night, while I was talking to Juan, I talked to him kind of late. I think it was around 10 o'clock his time. And it was, 6, 7 time frame. So we started around 9 his time and into over 7:30, Pacific. So that's 10:30 for his time. So, Juan comes out, and then he was going to do a show with me at 1, and then stuff bubbled up on his end, and he had to push to 6. All right. So stuff is happening a lot. Yeah. So now I get info from a lot of different sources. So he said last night on the show live that the Pakistani that was doing the negotiating and trying to get us into a peace agreement, Israel blew him up. Israel blowed him up. And Juan revealed that last night. All right. So not long after that, I had other people that basically brought in a little bit confirming information. So I'm going to read this to you. Iran predicts U.S. ground invasion after Israel strikes key negotiator. Israel continues killing peace negotiators to force continuation of the war. Now, remember, there are obviously evil people. The Balfour Agreement by the Rothschilds and the British city-state, what is that city-state? The bankers of the UK, whatever, City of London. So the City of London basically put that forward that they were going to go into Palestine and basically, take over, and that's what they've done. So the baddies are there. Now, of course, the baddies are here in America, but we have been able to overcome them, and we're getting to the place where we're using the best that we can. Imagine you have somebody that's been trying to kill you for a long time, which the Israelis have done a lot of to America, and a lot of people still think that that is the case. I do not believe that's the case. I believe that we're defeating them. So Joe Kent was one of their puppets, right? And we've had some other people that were probably on the path of disclosing against Israel, and they ended up being a problem. So that's what we're seeing right now. So I have my phone going off. So let me shut it down. More stuff trying to come through. All right. So, yeah, I agree with you, Hermano. Kent was a very sneaky mofo, and that's a good moniker for him. He's a mofo, right? And so we don't like mofos. All right. Kent, you're a bad man. And of course, we went on to Tucker government audience too. Wow. Okay. So, reveals are happening across the board, just one after another. I've talked about a couple of them already, so I'm just not going to keep naming names over and over again. So this came out also today, earlier on the Epoch Times. So the Epoch Times is behind the power curve. They're putting out information that we were putting out last night, but they're still on the same sheet of music of the information. So that's why you have to listen to people like myself that have this information, that are putting it out so you can be ahead of the ball game, make your decisions, and start to move. Right. So let me read out what the Epoch Times says, and I'll just share the screen with you. Trump's Iran ultimatum nears deadline. With no breakthrough in talks, the talks are dead now, guys, literally and figuratively dead, right? As escalation looms. U.S. President Donald Trump's ultimatum for Iran to agree to a peace deal is set to expire on April 6th, 3 days. And with talks appearing to show no meaningful progress, the risk of a sharp escalation of the war looms large, right? So there will be boots on the ground, like I've been saying. Now, senior Israeli officials told Epoch Times magazine Israel on April 3rd. I guess even Israel's still keeping the lie going, or maybe they just don't know either, guys. I was in the CIA, and I knew what the manipulations were long before everybody else. That's how I'm able to eyeball this stuff long before everybody else, because I would see this stuff starting to happen. And I saw this for year after year after year after year. So I got good at spotting it, right? Before it happened. Of course, I was involved in some of it, I saw people talking about it. So I was like, oh shit, that's going to suck. Good thing it's over here in the Middle East. It's not going to affect us in the United States. But just like I talked about, pointing out that Australia, what happens in Australia comes to America and the rest of the world. And I spent a lot of time in Australia. I know Australians, great people, and they are being savaged by the deep state. Savaged, all right? And that savagery is coming for the rest of us soon. All right, so it goes on to talk about how talks between Washington and Tehran are being conducted indirectly through Pakistan's army chief, who is blowed up. All right, his wife, I know that his wife was killed, and I don't know if he survived or not, but he's, according to Juan, that he's bye-bye, all right? So I don't know. They're not saying it here, so who knows? But his Juan was saying that definitely his wife is gone. So of course Juan is, like a lot of us, cutting edge, way before it happened, before the press is going to release it. So Trump shared footage of a strike on one of the Iran's military supply routes, a big bridge. They did that Iran uses to move around ballistic missiles and drones, and keep their capabilities up. So I guess they blew the bridge up. And so the escalation could come, because he's saying he's going to go after the power structure. And then, of course, we have a lot of the knuckleheads out there. And some of them have been in war. And some of them are armchair quarterbacks, speaking about the war, and they have no idea what war is like. They have never been in war, but they are the experts. I've been in war for pretty much most of my 35-year career, right? In combat zones. And when you're in a combat zone, you're pretty much in combat, right? So kind of like what America's turning out to be, right? Pretty soon, I think. So we're seeing a lot of these people, step up and give out false information. I am. And saying that, Trump is a bad man if he's going to take out their electricity. Now, in Ukraine, Russia is doing a very good job of taking out Ukraine's electrical structure. What is electrical structure used for? It's used to move supplies, to make supplies that are used in war. Right? So if Iran is going to continue the war against us and our allies in the Middle East, then we have to take away, unfortunately, for the people, people suffer. Excuse me. People always suffer sometimes the most. Although I've seen videos of massive crowds of people at basically funerals for the IRGC. So it's like 1,900, the last count of IRGC mofos that have been killed. And I saw massive crowds for funerals, massive. It looked to me like there was tens of thousands of people. That's not a good sign. So who are they supporting? They're supporting the people that are going to continue this war. All right. Now, for me, I have been in the Middle East for decades. And I can tell you that the Middle Easterners, through their religious practice, have their emotional intelligence kept extremely low. So they get very emotional, and from those crazy emotions, they become very violent, right? Against everybody else, even other Muslims, because the Muslims fight each other all the time too, right? But the enemy of my enemy, of my enemy, so Muslims fight each other. So the enemy of my enemy is my enemy. They're fighting my enemy. So they're all going to combine, like we saw in Iraq, or I saw in Iraq, Civil War type stuff. Now, they're not going to civil war each other. They're going to civil war us. They're going to completely combine and go against us, right? And that's what we're seeing. Yemen is starting to strike out. But again, it's the Yemenis that are in power. It's not all of the Yemenis, because I've been around all of the Yemenis, and many of them are like us, very conservative, free thinkers, good emotional intelligence. All right. They don't get riled up easily. So, you know, it's going to be crazy for them. Now, let's go into, you know, Trump is saying that the war is almost over. I think he's talking about the negotiations are reaching a level where it's almost over. The negotiators and negotiations are dead, right? So their capabilities are really going to start to be utilized. I think they're being supplied by Russia, because we supplied Ukraine against Russia. All right. So don't beat up on Russia. Russia, unfortunately, has been beat up by the United States and Europe forever. All right. So they're good people. The people of Russia are good. But just like anyone else, they're going to protect themselves. So they're going to, just like we did in Afghanistan, we pushed Russia into a long war. And we supplied through Osama bin Laden, who was the CIA puppet boy. And then CIA came in when he was no longer useful, killed him. Right? So that's the way Luciferians are. And the CIA is absolutely Luciferian. Right? I know, because I worked there, and they came after me as well. Right? So I was useful to them. And then when I was no longer useful to them, then they tried to kill me. It didn't work out. But they did destroy my life for a period of time. All right. So let's look at their capabilities.
Is reported footage of an Iranian ballistic missile just missing a bunker housing American troops in the Gulf region. This video is absolutely terrifying, especially if you were one of the guys there. So this is the missile coming in.
All right. See how fast that came in. That's super hypersonic. And it just missed this bunker. If it hit this bunker, I think that probably all those guys would be dead. So we would have a big casualty number right now. I don't know if this was like, see what we can do type thing, or if they just missed, or it got deflected, or what happened here, or they didn't have the right coordinates. But this is pretty significant.
And it hits right.
All right. So you see this guy. Looks like he's in his shorts, but he's got his helmet. It could have been, you know, siren went out. It was one of those missiles that, you know, they were ineffective in bringing down. Those Patriot missile batteries are not so good, guys. $2 million a pop every time one of those missiles goes out. And they're not always hitting their targets, because these are hypersonic missiles. And the Patriot is regular speed, right? So these hypersonic missiles are blasting past the Patriot missile batteries, and they're getting in. So they don't have a lot of them, or at least we don't know that yet. And we hear that a lot of these missiles and their launchers and so forth are being taken out. But obviously their capability is not decreasing, like we've been told. It seems to be advancing in some areas.
Right next to the bunker. Everybody over here is good. So it just barely misses them. And watch how fast it comes in at the end. So it's right there, and then boom.
So I was about to say that guy's in shorts. They might get called out, and they're in their bunks, and they're like, get to the bunkers, right? And they're, you know, they have barracks and so forth. They're in their bunks in their barracks, and they get siren goes off, and they throw in some body armor, run. As they're running, they're throwing on their body armor and their helmets, and they're in shorts, right? So that's probably what you're seeing there, because it looks like it's at night. So imagine, because this happened to me quite a bit in the Middle East. Imagine waking up at 0 dark 30 and mortars are going off around you, right? And you're in a trailer, right? Where if it comes close to you, it hits close to your trailer, then that shrapnel is going to come, that hot shrapnel is going to come through and zip through your flesh, right? So not fun. But as you saw with that missile, I don't know how cordoned those bunkers are, but if it came in where that entrance was right there, everybody in that bunker would be dead.
Everybody's good. Everybody over here is good.
Let's go one more time. Let's slow it down. We'll go slow motion. So here it comes.
Oh.
All right. Okay, guys. So these guys still have the ability to reach out and cause damage. And they've been causing a lot of damage, destroying a lot of infrastructure throughout the Middle East, right? Oil facilities, on and on and on. Water distillation plants, they've hit some of those in the Middle East as well. We have not hit their electrical facilities or their water distillation plants. And I've heard from a lot of people, it's like, that would be so wrong if we did that to them, right? Well, hello, they're doing it to everybody else. And there's a war over there. And it's getting close, guys. It's getting close, like I'm talking about, where the food's not coming in, the water's not coming in, the water's not being made, and people are going to get violent, right? A lot more violent, a lot faster, because again, the Middle Easterners have very low emotional IQ. So as I've seen many times, when just something basic goes bad, they get cray-cray, right? So we're seeing worst case scenario right there. They're right on the cliff, guys. So things could go really bad, really fast. So things aren't, so we had air superiority at one point, but now we don't, right? Because F-15 or something like it got shut down. So US F-15E shot down in Iran. So US fighter jet has allegedly been shot down over Iran, with Axios reporting a search and rescue operation underway for the crew. So they're shot down behind enemy lines, and they got a rescue crew. I don't know, maybe some Delta or SEAL Team 6 guys, or I don't know. I don't think they would put those guys in that position, but maybe Air Force rescue crew. I don't know. This incident marks the first confirmed loss of a U.S. manned fighter jet to Iranian fire since the start of Operation Epic Fury in late February. So things seem to be escalating. An ejection seat reportedly belonging to an F-15E has been located near the crash site in western or southwestern Iran, raising concerns over crew survival. So if the Iranians got to them, they're going to publicize this. They're going to puppet those guys around. So that's one of the reasons why hopefully they got a rescue team. So who knows? Maybe if those guys are now hostages, then you would see Delta or SEAL Team 6 move in to rescue them, because that's what they're trained for. U.S. fighter jet lies down over Iranian territory, its crew unaccounted for, as American rescue forces press into hostile airspace. All right, so here it is. Spokesman of Iran's Ketam blah 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 headquarters. A second U.S. fifth generation F-35 was struck and down. So they're calling it F-35. So fifth gen. So if that's the case, that's even a more worst case scenario, because these are the most high tech, and they're supposed to have the most resistance to these defensive air defense systems, right? Given the massive explosion on impact and during the crash, the pilot is unlikely to have ejected. All right, so that's what they're saying. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But again, things are not decelerating, they're accelerating, and it's not looking good, right? Yes, prayers for our freedom fighters. Absolutely. All right, so battle of the decade, floating hospitals, hovercrafts, and drone lasers. Trump's force ready to land in Iran, and what regime has in store for them. All right. Now, I keep seeing a lot of people talk about this. I don't see this going down. This would not make sense to me. If we went and did the Karg Island, seized Karg Island, it's the guys that went in there to seize that, they'd be sitting ducks, right? So I don't see it happening, and it's really far up the coastline of Iran from the Straits of Hormuz. I don't see it happen, but everybody wants to talk about it. How Karg Island is Iran's lifeline. Well, down here where the Straits of Hormuz are, and so pretty much the U.S. Navy controls that, right? So Iran's not going to, unless we let them, I guess President Trump let them, push some ships through there to reduce the global oil supply shortage. So I don't see it happening. I could be wrong because I'm not on the ground. I'm not, figuring this out. They're not asking me, but who knows, maybe somebody's watching and they're like, well, what does Mike think? And I think no go, right? Do not send people that are going to be casualties to seize Karg Island. You control it already. So there's no need to send anybody there to seize it. It's just I don't know, something for the news, all right? A news event that's the only thing it would be, but it would be very, very sketch for the people that are there on the ground. I wouldn't send them in to do that. All right, so Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth forces out Army's top officer. In addition to Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, maybe that's why he's a Randy guy and he's Randy George. I don't know. Maybe that's quite a name there. Hegseth fired 2 other Army generals Thursday, according to 3 U.S. officials familiar with the action. So why are these people being replaced? There's only one reason. They're deep staters. There's still a clean out of deep staters, right? It will be an ongoing process, right? And it could be they're resistant to taking this to the new level that I believe it might have to be taken to. All right. So if we don't, free up and control the Strait of Hormuz, which is coming at some point in the future, if we weren't to do that, then Iran would probably seize control of it, and they would decide who came through, and whoever came through, they'd basically make them pay. All right. This is why the Trojan War happened. Right. So same kind of area. All right. Not completely, but same situation. The Greeks and the Trojans, because the Trojans were like saying you're going to have to pay if you want to go by the Strait of Dardanelles, whatever that area is. And the Greeks came in and said, we ain't doing it, and we're going to take control. And they did. Right. So that's what we're seeing again. We're seeing that once again, that type of situation. Now, I'm saying that the banks are going to implode. Going to implode, right? Fraudsterish stuff going on, and same kind of craziness that happened 2008, 2009, financial crash back then. No one was held accountable, right? So you have criminals that are, doing fraud in the banking industry, and the whole world economy in 2008 almost seized up, and those of us that are pointing out this fraud now are saying that the situation is much, much more dire than that time frame. So they injected a lot of liquidity into the markets. That was when Bear Stearns went under, and all the banks were like staring at going under as well. So the Federal Reserve came in, pumped the money out. Helicopters went flying all over the place over banks, and they just kicked out bags of money, right? Helicopter, salvation from above. And that's pretty much, they injected the system with lots of cash, and they extended. They didn't fix, they extended what the pain is that's going to come, right? So it is coming. The crash and the seizure of of that system to a great extent is coming. And I think that's it's pretty close, right? Let's see. I'm going to share this. Is that the one that I want to share? Yeah. So let me share this one. And it will give us a better insight of what's coming. Yes, this is what I want to share. All right. So let's listen to Lena Petrova. And she talks about the U.S. shadow banking implosion. 13 billion bank run accelerates turmoil in private credit market. Now, she posted this 5 hours ago, right? So we're going to, it's not the one to actually share. Let me go but see, because I want to show you the one first where she talked about a week ago, this implosion coming. I think this is it. Yes, good. No, it's the same one. What do I have here? Dang it. So I should have one for a week. Come on, where are you at? All right, that's the 5 hours ago. And this is the 7 days ago. Okay, good. I think I have it situated. Sorry to, try and unscrew myself while I'm in the middle of a show, but sometimes it happens, right? That's not the one I want to share. Hopefully I get the right one this time. All right, so she talks about a week ago, $3 trillion time bomb that's coming. So you see here 7 days ago, private credit crisis has already begun, right? So she's going to talk about this for just a few seconds, and then I'm going to bring you over to where she talked about just a few hours ago or how it's already here in just 1 week. It accelerated very quickly.
Today, one of the biggest concerns is concentration. Roughly 40% of private credit loans are tied to software companies. And that might have seemed like a safe bet several years ago, until artificial intelligence, that is, entered the picture. AI is rapidly disrupting the software industry, challenging business models, compressing margins, and potentially making entire categories of software obsolete. What looked like a growth sector is now becoming a source of systemic risk. That's where the problem begins to cascade, I would say. If software companies start to struggle, which they are already, they may not be able to repay their loans. Estimates suggest default rates could reach 15% and possibly higher if conditions worsen.
All right, so default rates, like she said, 15% or even higher if conditions worsen, and they will. They're going to, right? And so, like again, she was talking about this 7 days ago, right? So this is World Affairs in Context. She's got a lot of subscribers, right? So help her out. She does all the research on her own, and puts this out for free. So buy her a coffee, right? So here it is, next level, very quickly, very rapidly. So in 7 days, it reached a level where things are already starting to go in the direction she was talking about just a week ago.
A full-blown crisis is unfolding in the private credit world, and the red flags are starting to make people very uneasy. Blue Owl Capital, one of the biggest players in the space, has decided to limit withdrawals from 2 of its major...
Limit withdrawals. They're stopping the bank run already, guys. It's already happening.
funds after being hit with an unusually large wave of investors asking for their money back. And this is not a small spike by any stretch of imagination. This is the kind of surge that puts the entire industry on notice. Private credit has grown into a $1.8 trillion market, and it has become a major part of the U.S. financial system. It has become an integral part. When this bubble pops, and I am saying when because it is just a matter of time, when the bubble pops, it will ripple through the entire economy. In its largest fund, investors at Blue Owl Capital requested to withdraw about 22% of the total assets in just 3 months during the first quarter of 2026. Now, altogether in the private credit sector, investors they attempted to pull out around $13 billion during the first quarter of this year, and they actually received less than half of that amount. So the majority of them couldn't even get their money back. In its smaller tech-focused fund.
All right, so who got the wave off? I had a dream about this actually, where I was trying to get my money out of the bank, and they let me get my money out for whatever reason. But I saw that many other people were not able to get their money out. And then they're like, there was somebody going, okay, you. And then they would get their money out, and then tons of other people wouldn't get their money out. And then it was like, okay, you. And so they were being choosy who got their money, right? I don't know why they would be choosy with me, because I'm not really anybody in that system. But for whatever reason, that's to make the point, I guess, in the dream. Some people were getting their money back and some people were not. So this is, do you want to take the chance that you will be the one person? Because I remember this back during 2008, guys. You might remember it too. They limited the level of withdrawals, I think, per day. You could only get a couple hundred, out at one time. And I was traveling overseas. I needed to get more money out. So because I needed to sustain myself when I went on these trips overseas, because there was no money for us. You brought your own money, you paid for your own food, and then they reimbursed you for paying for your own food. So, this is, so I got limited. I was limited. And I think somehow what I did is I was going to the bank, every day, and over a period of time, again, because I was, kind of ahead of the situation. I'd heard that they had locked down, how much you could withdraw. And then I just, every day, I withdraw what I could, my limit. And I would go argue with the tellers, and they were like, we can't get away from it. And, it was like, it was Navy Federal Credit Union. That was my bank at the time. And they just weren't having it. They didn't care. Oh, you're a veteran, you're a Navy SEAL veteran. I didn't use that, of course, but they don't care, guys. They're going to decide, who gets their money, and probably a lot of people won't. All right, so we're on the cliff side. We're about ready to get pushed off, right? I'm not. I'm good. I've anticipated this for quite some time. I'm already positioned to do okay. I don't know how long this is going to last, but you need to position yourself so you can, you know, we've talked about this, you know, during the COVID and after COVID, be ready for at least several months, you know, have enough cash to, you know, survive several months. And gold and silver, you can translate that into cash or whatever, or use that for bartering. You know, you don't know what's coming, guys. All right. So you're probably, well, that won't happen in America. Let me show you some place where it did happen and why it happened. So a big explosion in Lebanon. You guys might remember this, but this explosion went off. Remember that that train that had all that ammonium nitrate that disappeared off the train, and they still haven't found it after several years. Right? So we don't know where it's at. It just leaked out. It just leaked out. You know, while it was just going along, it kind of like vibrated, and you know, there was a CO that got broken from the train vibrating, and it just leaked out. Right? It's just gone. Right? So that's a lot. That's a lot of ammonium nitrate. And let me show you what happens when you, because I used to do this myself, right? When I was doing demolitions and putting demolition charges together. This is Beirut, right? What happened in deadly Beirut explosion? Now, I did, because I'd been to Beirut and I knew the politics of Beirut, and I figured I knew what kind of happened. So I'm not going to talk about it here, so I don't want to get this video taken down again, because that video got taken down. I did a 3-hour presentation. I went into so much detail on that. It had, you know, close to 1 million views, and then it got bye-byed. All right. So watch what happens.
6 p.m. local time on Tuesday, the 4th of August. An explosion ripped through Beirut's port. People in Lebanon's capital had earlier spotted a large fire at the port, billowing dark smoke into the air. There were reports that a warehouse containing fireworks had caught fire. And several videos of the scene showed colored flashes in the flames. Videos from the scene suggest there was one smaller explosion. And then roughly 30 seconds later, this enormous shock. The blast struck with the force of a 3.5 magnitude earthquake. This was the aftermath. Windows shattered in buildings across the city and damaged cars on the roads near the port. This is where the explosion happened. 4 kilometers away, in the St. Mar-Meroun church, a priest and his congregation were...
All right, so there's been a lot of videos on that. You can go check that out if you missed that somehow back in the 2020, right? August 5th, just before the lockdowns came, right? So it was around October. I started seeing some anomalies in China, and I started kind of like throwing some videos out there. There's some strange stuff going on, and I did that through November, December, like maybe one a week. I'm just like watching this, guys. This doesn't look good. And then in January, I went full every day. All right. And then we had the lockdown after that. So this was, somebody came in and blew that place up because there were some illegal activities going on underground. Right. So I just have to leave it at that. But now in this one, I think there were actually more people that died. I think it was like 141, but they say here at least 130 were killed. So probably more people died later, and thousands were injured. So this was not too long after the actual blast. Now you're like, why are you bringing that up? What does that have to do? Yeah, we're at war. There's things being blown up, but that's far away from me. That's far away from me. I don't care. All right. Kind of like, you know, the Australians, you know, getting shut down. I couldn't warn them. So yeah, we're all connected, guys. So if you see some problem in one area, it's eventually going to affect all of us. Kind of like what's going on in the Middle East, because they move a lot of fertilizer through that area. And that fertilizer is not going to get out to the rest of the world. Food problems are coming. All right. So after that Lebanon blowed up thingy, right? The people were like not too happy with, maybe they saw my video and figured out what was happening. So they were not too happy with their government, and their government would stand down. So what do? They made gallows and with hangman nooses, and they put it outside of where their government offices were, and then the government all resigned. Right? That's good enough. We're good. We're out. Okay, you wanted us to go? Okay, yeah. So they went. All right, but things didn't get better. Unfortunately, things did not get better. Things got gradually much worse, unfortunately. All right, so kind of like the financial collapse, they're like, well, we'll just take the money, because the Rothschilds had a huge bank there in Lebanon. How about that? So Lebanese depositors resorted to robbing banks to access their frozen savings due to the country's severe financial crisis, with some using weapons or threats to withdraw their own money. These incidents increased since 2022. So there was basically Lebanese pound lost significant value, making savings in local currency nearly worthless. So the longer that money stayed in that bank, the more worthless it became. Kind of like what we're probably going to see with the dollar pretty soon. And that's why you want to have silver, right? Banks have imposed strict limits on cash withdrawals, often allowing only minimal amounts, kind of like 2008, right? Many depositors are facing dire financial situations, including job loss, inability to afford basic necessities. All right, so it talks about how people went in and robbed the bank. And so they faced no prosecution, largely due to public sympathy and the legal complexity surrounding the bank's actions, right? Legal experts argue that these robberies may be viewed as acts of self-defense, as depositors are attempting to reclaim their own money, right? Just like we're seeing already for that Blue Owl investment group, that the big banks, pumped a lot of money into those, because it's kind of like, money laundering, right? So those people in those private investment banking groups, there's been people that have been talking. I've been listening to them for months. Better get your money out of those banks. So now they're seizing that money up. And this is happening in major financial institutions as well. They're restricting withdrawals, and they're even locking down funds so that you won't be able to get the money out for years later. Lebanon. All right. Anyway, now here we go into the main global shutdown and lockdown. So remember how I talked about Australia, right? So here's a gentleman that spent some time in Australia, Buddy Brown, and he's a good old boy, but he's given a good story, kind of like me. I'm just a good old boy that's telling you, look out, it's coming, right? So let's listen to what he has to say, because he's got some friends. He lived in Australia, and he's got some friends that are there. I'm kind of in the same situation. When I went overseas to train with Aussies, I lived there for, a month at a time, and get to, make some good friends. But listen to this.
To go, the link is below. Top of the Monday morning, y'all. Hope you're doing good. This is not a fear video. If you're scared, that's on you. We have God, and that's all I need to even say about that. Ranger ain't scared. Why should you be? Look, the fuel crisis in Australia is getting pretty crazy. And the thing you need to know about Australia is 90% of Australia's fuel comes from Asia, while they get it from, you guessed it, the Middle East. But what happened? Like back in the 1970s, Australia produced like over 70% of their nation's fuel. This is exactly why you do not elect these fantasy liberal Green Party people who think, you know, their citizens should suffer and we should live.
All right. So like President Trump is saying, he dimed out all the Democrats and all the Democrat, controlled states. So this is coming for you guys in the Democrat states.
In the fantasy of being green. It just don't work. Now, my friends down in Melbourne where I lived, they're all telling me that most grocery stores there still have a bunch of food and they're pretty much good. But in the rural areas down there in Australia, look, they're suffering. And a cyclone just came through. It didn't make anything a whole lot better. But they're starting to hear now some rumors. And rumors can be just rumors, but I'm just going to tell you what they're saying down there in Victoria right now. What I'm hearing from my friends is they're saying they could get thrown back into a COVID-style lockdown very soon. And there's ideas floating that they could even be saying, we're going to reduce your fuel to like $40 every single time you fill up, just to keep like emergency reserve.
All right. So I bring Australia to the light because I say that, you know, from my experience, what happens in Australia comes to the rest of the world. But it is already happening throughout the world, these lockdowns, and they're telling people just stay at home, you know, because you're not going to have the fuel. So we're only going to let you have so much fuel. This is already happening in several places around the world.
Right. So here's the viral video I'm going to show you here of a couple girls in Australia. They're walking into a grocery store, and this is just wild. You got to watch it.
So Sienna and I have just come to Coles to literally get popcorn. And look, there's nothing. Look at the shelves here in Darwin. What the? This is literally, there's nothing. Oh, yes, the lemons.
And she's actually laughing. You know, I mean, I can see people acting the same way here over in America, especially like on day one.
Yeah, I was telling people that you're going to be wearing masks when you go into the store soon. And I got laughed at. You got laughed at a lot. All right. Don't laugh at me, guys, please. All right. This is damn serious.
We don't know when day one is. That's always the problem. But this is, you know, my psych background. This is what we call classic cognitive dissonance. And it's just kind of funny until it ain't, right? So I will note that this video was taken during a cyclone when it came through, and the trucks just couldn't get to the areas of the grocery stores. So I don't want to make the claim that this is all of Australia and can do some kind of spook video on y'all or something like that. But I do think, here's what I do think. I think it's absolutely crazy to see the start of this and act like it can never touch you, because that's how people get in trouble. I mean, will you be laughing in 20 days? I don't know. I mean, y'all can drive on the left side of the road all you want down there, but the food still shows up on the right side of reality. I mean, there's no fuel for delivery trucks. And once it gets worse down there, no fuel means no groceries every single time. This goes back to show that when you spend years and years and years trying to make it harder for people who actually produce the food to survive, eventually they stop. And when they do stop, the shelves don't argue. They just go empty. That's not bad luck. That's just math. So if you're taking a look at it, you got like one of the biggest and most wildest places on earth with some of the most dangerous animals on earth. And somehow the most dangerous place ended up being your grocery store because there ain't nothing in it. Where I lived down there was actually Victoria, Australia. And I don't know if you know about Victoria, Australia, but they had some of the harshest COVID lockdowns on planet Earth. And that's actually caused some serious mental health issues with a lot of people down there. And can you just imagine the PTSD of hearing these lockdown style things are going to come back, even if it's in the form of energy and not viruses? If I'm hearing that and I went through what I went through back in 2020, I just feel so bad for these people.
All right. So they planned this out, guys, just like they did COVID. And Trump was already behind the scenes, because I saw SEAL Team 6 level guys, and I'm pretty sure they're SEAL Team 6 guys that were coming in and seizing, I think it was in August timeframe. Looked like they were seizing maybe biological and maybe nuke. But they were definitely doing the biological seizing, because when you're in the military, especially at the Tier 1 level, SEAL Team 6 Delta guys, we are very much trained in to go after the biologicals and the nukes, the weapons of mass destruction. And so if it does happen in the United States, which it has been, then those guys are sent out to seize it. And they did it in California, right? California. Where in California, you're going to see the lockdowns begin, all right? You will see the lockdowns begin in California, the left coast, all right? So we saw it in Sleepless in Seattle. We saw the COVID basically break out in a nursing home. And from there, magically, it spread all the way to New York and the rest of the world, or the rest of the country. So this, obviously, because California was a major producer of gasoline through their refinery systems, this is going to hit California, right? So they're not going to get the fuel like they've been doing because of, just like he was talking about in Aussie land, they have, decided that they know better than the people, and they're going to make everything green. They took away their weapons. They knew better. And then, because now they can't fight back, right? But here in America, we can, right? And that's one of the reasons why they didn't get that COVID on the level that they wanted it to, because they said they were going to come into people's houses and start to, vaccinate people. And they're like, oh, no, you come into my home, you're going to die. All right. Good old boys are like, no. And so they stopped pushing COVID. Right. And then it started to unravel. So how is this going to happen with the fuel crisis? Remains to be seen, but California's already prepped it. What other states have already prepped it? Democrat states. We're going to see. Guys. But California, in my guesstimation, will probably soon, with the next couple of weeks or so, maybe even sooner, start to ration. And then once they start to ration, they will start to say, don't come to work, right? Don't come to work. Stay at home. Lock yourself at home, because we're only going to give out, we're going to ration the gas. You're only going to get so much gas, and that's all you're going to get, right? So then you won't see as many cars on the road, which would be great, because traveling in California sucks because of all the traffic. But we're going to see.
So everybody watching in Australia, look, we really are praying for you, but your government screwed this up. So the reason I'm telling y'all this is I don't want you to sit around thinking this is just their problem. This is exactly what happens when liberal pressure builds up long enough to actually pop off, especially in overpopulated cities where, nobody produces anything. Do y'all know how much I worry about New York City all the time? If that actually, if the trucks can't get in there and it popped off, you got 12 million plus sitting ducks starving in 48 hours. I think about that all the time. Like, they don't grow nothing in New York City, and you sure ain't going to do it in the middle of. And I'm going to say this too, because I'm sitting here thinking, like an Australian, what would I do right now if I was stuck down there?
All right. So he goes on, talks about the kangaroos, and they have more kangaroos than they have people in Australia, but the Aussies don't like kangaroo. I don't know why, because I love kangaroo. I thought I had kangaroo steak, I had kangaroo spaghetti, ground up, kangaroo meat, but they just don't like it, right? But they have everything down there. They have alligator, they have crocodile, whatever they got down there, and snakes, and it's all edible, right? So it's like they can survive, all right, if they have to. And that's what happened in France, when before Napoleon came in. They had mass starvation, and the people went out and started cooking snails, and that's escargot now. So how about that? So I don't know. Maybe Aussies will learn to love kangaroo meat like I do. All right. Anyway, you guys are in the big cities. You're not going to get any kangaroo, any deer, any buffalo, any fish, nothing. Those of you that, are in New York, maybe you can go out and spear some fish along the shoreline. But that's gonna go bye-bye pretty quick too. I don't know. We're gonna see. It could be like what was that one movie where they locked down New York, and Snake Plissken was a guy that came in, escaped from New York. It's gonna be. We've been kind of like joking about that for years. That's going to come for New York, but I think it also could come for LA. Yeah, so we'll see. All right, so again, like I said, it's not just the Aussies, guys. So even in Europe. So here is a German that is a survivalist, and she's got great videos. If you might want to watch some of her videos where she talks about how to survive if things go bad. So survival Lily. So watch what she has to say.
Europeans will have to buy very expensive gas, natural gas. The International Energy Agency is already warning of an energy catastrophe in 6 weeks if oil shipments are not resumed. The expert warns that the war could drag on. Fuel lockdown looms. OPEC is forging a secret plan. Fuel may no longer be sold at some gas stations after Easter. Apparently, OPEC is already secretly working on a rationing plan. The situation on the energy market is dramatic. The Strait of Hormuz was blocked overnight, and the war in Iran could be prolonged with ground troops. Refineries in the Persian Gulf are already shut down, and some are damaged. Restarting them will take months even after the war ends. Around Easter, petrol stations in rural areas could suspend sales. For now, dealers can sell what they have in stock that will be exhausted in a few days, but from then on, it might no longer be profitable for many gas stations operators to sell diesel or premium gasoline. Usually,
Boom. So again, Green New Deal stuff in Europe. Of course, they destroyed the pipeline that Russia had built. And so long term, guys, these guys think and they move and they operate long term. All right. So this is something that's probably been in their plan for a long time. And Trump hurried up the process, take them off, potentially take them offline. But it looks like it got sabotaged. We could have possibly seen a peace agreement, but it looks like it's been blown up. Right. So will they be able to start another one and do some workarounds? Are the Israeli Nazis, the Rothschild, group going to come in and find out about it and sabotage it? It's highly possible, right? So let's look at if you're worried about your taxpayer dollars in Europe and the United States, don't worry, because they're going to Kazakhstan to basically make it capable for the 200 fallen angels to have a nice place to come and hang out. And, we'll look at this, right? So like, what? Yeah. I've been watching this for years, and I was like, no, at some point people are going to find out about this and it's going to stop. But it just seems to be going on and getting worse.
$50 billion is how much money we spent building a pyramid and a city on the other side of the planet. It's called Astana, Kazakhstan. And the pyramid that we built is in the middle of it, right in the heart of the city. It houses 200 delegates. And ironically, there are 200 fallen angels. But if you click inside that building, you can go to the boardroom, which has a round table where all 200 delegates get to meet. And
see how high the ceilings are there? That's, those fallen angels are pretty big. So
if you disagree with them, there's a hole right there in the middle of the table, and you can see all the way down to the floor of reconciliation. And I guess that's the hole of peace. And that's next on the trumpet. The United States were some of the first people to even invest their money there. This is just one of many buildings they built. Circular 200-seat chamber for world religion meetings. Chapter 3 of the Book of Enoch, Fallen Angels, tells you all about the 200 angels that descended onto Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is where that happened. And if you go to the Book of Enoch, you can see that those 20 names that it mentioned right underneath that verse, they were leaders of tens. So there were 200 people that descended right here on top of Mount Hermon. And the United Nations decided this is right where we need to build a base, on the 33rd degree parallel. These people right here, and he will gather the nations. And no, I'm not talking about the Pope. Look at that logo right there. That's quite simply the 33rd degree. That logo shows the Earth divided by 8 sections, and each section is divided by 4 other sections. 8 times 4 is 32, and the center section makes the 33rd. There's a lot of people on that same page. Now you're going to start seeing that 33 show up everywhere, like in the buttons on his cloak. They represent the years of Jesus's life. The 33rd degree is where Jesus transfigured in front of the disciples. The 33rd degree is where the Masons built the Tower of Babel out of bricks. And yes, if you work with bricks or stones, you are considered a Mason. Charleston, South Carolina, home of the Masons. I love that these guys think that they are the oldest fraternity of men. You're not the oldest fraternity of men that swore an oath. That was the fallen angels. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. That book is in the Library of Congress. And this book is right on my shelf for all of us to read. And in the Sermon on the Mount, these are Jesus's words right here. Verse 33, in case you weren't paying attention. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. The men of old time are spoken of right here in Genesis chapter 6 under the wickedness of the world. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Jesus goes on in the book of Matthew and says, but I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne. Swearing in on the Bible now has a whole new meaning for me. And when they take the oath of office, well, this ought to be great. These are all Jesus's words in red right there. Did we really pay $50 billion for a pyramid on the...
All right, so 50 billion, and there's been a lot more put there. You should go look at that Kazakhstan. I've been looking at it for years, and they're building quite the city there. Hardly anybody in it, so I guess at some point they're going to occupy it, right? Or at least that's their plan. So, you know, it's the nations of the earth are sending a lot of money there, and they're building a fantastic city there. And I think it's going to be a place that they're never going to make it to, right? So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how we have any, bearing on that. Now, California stealing land. So not only are there, the environmentalists that are there helping to burn down California, because there are certain, ET groups, reptilian, that don't like a lot of oxygen, right? So they try to burn down a lot of forest all over the world, right? So they want the oxygen level a lot lower. And so they're moving in that direction. Of course, we have the environmentalists that are saying, no, we can't, clear the brush and so forth because it's not natural. The American Indians that basically used to, manage this land, the entire land, and there were massive forests all over that have been cut down all across America. Once the white man came and basically the bad white men, right, came and basically started to kick them out, put them on reservations, and steal the land. So it is what it is now. I don't see it going back to where it was anytime soon. Garden of Eden can happen here in America, can happen very quickly, but not if we have these crazy Democrat liberals that are running the show. So they're stealing our land. One way they steal our land is to continue to raise property taxes to the point where people can't afford it anymore. Another way, of course, as we've seen, is they burn us out of our land with directed energy weapons, like they've done in California multiple times, all up and down California, and also in Lahaina in Australia or Hawaii. So these burnings have happened all over the world as well, right? It's not just limited to America. They burn. I pointed this out in multiple shows for years now. All right, so this is a shady land grab just in one area, but this is happening all across our country. These shady land grabs by politicians.
How is one California county using cannabis and grainy satellite images to extort millions from homeowners? This is Doug and Corrine Thomas. They run an autism nonprofit, but are mostly retired. In 2021, they moved to Humboldt County after their home burned down in the LA County wildfires. And 6 days later, their dream property turned into a nightmare. The county sent a letter saying this barn was built without a permit and prior owners did use it for growing weed. So they had 10 days to demo the barn or face fines of $12,000 per day. And ignoring the letter would result in a $900,000 lien placed on their property, which could then be sold at a tax sale. But the Thomases were confused. Their home had a clean title. How is this possible? Well, Humboldt County is part of the Emerald Triangle. For decades, it's been a hotspot for OG growers. And after California went legal, the county wanted its cut. So they created an environmental response team to supposedly protect a sensitive ecosystem. In reality, it was used to weed out black market growers and incentivize them into the legal industry. They'd use old grainy satellite images to look for unpermitted development, like barns and greenhouses, grading, and even the removal of too many trees, because those things must mean you're growing weed. However, in Humboldt, people have developed property and lived off the land without permits for generations. But the county didn't care. They had a quota to meet. 50 permit violations a week. And because those were connected to cannabis, they became a Category 4 offense, which was actually 3 separate violations, meaning more money for the state. But new homeowners like the Thomases had no idea about any of this. Even though the county was required to report title violations, they hadn't. For years. If people did challenge the penalties, the county took literally 4.5 years to even schedule a hearing. Now, most people would assume you could just get a permit and solve the problem. But the county said, nope. They want property owners to return the land to its original condition. For the Thomases, this meant $200,000 to remove the barn, which might not even be possible because it's surrounded by protected old growth forest. The only way out of this ordeal? To settle. The county wanted the Thomases to falsely admit growing weed, waive any right to trial, allow the government access to their land forever, demo the barn.
All right, so they did grow weed. And so they're wanting them to admit that they did grow weed, falsely admit, so they could settle and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's extortion. It's unbelievable, what's going on. And this is just one example, guys, all across America. And they're manufacturing reasons and ways to seize people's land, especially in California, right? And I have another friend that's starting to face some of that as well. So, Alberta, Texas of the North, will we have a new neighbor soon? Are they going to break free? It looks like they're right on the verge of breaking free from Canada. It says America is about to have a new neighbor with oil, cattle, and common sense. An independent Alberta, the Texas of the North, right? So if you didn't know where Alberta was, there it is. So why would they want to break free from Canada? Canada takes their oil profits because they have rich, very rich oil sands. Remember, they had a pipeline that came down from Alberta, and Joe Biden, President Trump, got it going fast, and then Biden came in and shut it down first day. So they have a lot of oil sands, a lot of oil, and a lot of other great, wealth in Alberta. And what do in Ottawa? They take that wealth and they distribute it, like the communist Marxists that they are. And Alberta doesn't get hardly any of it. Wow. Imagine, like most of us already know, that we work our asses off and we get a pittance, and somebody else gets that money, like the state and the government, and on and on and on. So stealing our money, they've been doing it for decades now. And, we had a revolution to stop that taxation by unfair or no representation. And now we're back at it worse than ever before, right? So we're in another revolutionary war at this point. Now, many worry Hollywood will soon resemble Detroit after the fall of the auto industry. Hollywood is in big trouble, and everybody can feel it now. So we know that a lot of craziness has come from Hollywood. The COVID push by Hollywood stars. Remember all of them getting their shots. And wow, there's just been an overwhelming number of Hollywood actors and actresses that have died over the last several years. Just amazing. More than at any time ever. They won't do a study on that, but I can tell you, I've been watching it. A lot of my favorites in the past are gone, and they were healthy. There's no reason for them to go on, and they're still dying, right? So now they pushed it, and then after they pushed it, they started coming after Trump, right? Try to tear him down. And people just got tired of it. It's like, if you guys are going to do this, we're not going to watch your movies anymore, because they thought that they could lecture us and that we would listen because Hollywood was Hollywood. Everybody followed Hollywood. Everybody loved the Hollywood stars. Not anymore, right? So now Hollywood is falling. And all across the country and the world, people are going to do their movies instead of Hollywood. Again, thanks to the administration, political administration, Gavin Newsom and his crew in Sacramento, right? So it's all basically going downhill very, very fast. All right, so it says, thanks to Gavin, one of the largest industries in the state has been limping along for a while now. When people are asking where the jobs went, the fat lady has started to sing. The numbers tell the story, and the slowdown is fast and furious, pun intended, right? So they came after the things that we revere, freedom. Right? So they told us to lock down as well, to put our masks on, to get our vaccinations, or we should not be helped by any hospital if we have anything wrong with us. Remember those? Remember those days? So now we're seeing the pushback. Remember how there were some companies that came out and said, if you don't follow, vaccine, if you're not vaccinated, they did that for employees. And they said, in our businesses, if you're not wearing your mask, if you're not, keeping your distance, which was kind of hard on the airlines. But, I remember eating, and I would eat very slowly so that I could keep my mask off. And if I showed any sign of, not wearing my mask, the stewardesses were, self-appointed and probably pushed into being Nazis, right? We saw this in supermarkets all over the world. It's 11/11 where I'm at right now. So angelic numbers. So we know that if they came after, and I remember seeing like some businesses where they would come in because they wouldn't do the woke shit, or they wouldn't do the vaccinations, or they wouldn't put the masking on. They would come after those businesses and try and take them down, the liberals. And then we got wind of it, and we made those companies rich, right? So, and then those companies that tried to do woke on us, they went broke, right? So that process is going to continue. We're going to see Hollywood collapse, and probably, unfortunately, all of California collapse, because that's already been built in. The tsunami is already coming, and there's no way to stop it. All right, guys. So that's the alert. Get ready for a global shutdown and baking collapse. It's coming, right? Now it's a TikTok type of situation. When will it happen? I wouldn't wait around for it. I start prepare now, right? And you're going to start to see it. When you start to see it really starting to pick up speed in other areas, it might be too late, right? All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in love vibration, and we'll see you guys next time.